sponsors and thank all of you for being here. Our sponsors are Jewish Federation of Greater Atlanta from the Gather Grants, Israel in Atlanta, the Consulate General of Israel to the Southeastern United States, and Congregation B'nai Torah, and our partner JIFLA, Jewish Interest-Free Loan Association of Georgia. I'd also like to thank our promotional partners, and without them, you may not have found us. So definitely thank you to all of our media partners, and again, thank you to all of you. We are basically going to be allowing you to ask questions in the chat. Remember, Atlanta Israel Coalition is nonpartisan. We're non-denominational. So if it's a political question, we will not be asking it. We believe that Israel is a human topic, not a political topic. And we have our incredible tour guide right now out in the field, David Sussman.
Quick little introduction. My name is David Sussman. I'm going to be your tour guide today on the Atlanta Israel Coalition live webinar, a tour of the Gaza envelope, known here in Israel as the Otef. And during today's tour, we're going to visit some of the sites that were really devastated on October 7th, including the Nova Music Festival site itself. I hope to be able to share some powerful, meaningful stories connecting you guys to October 7th and really what is unfolding today. We're 304 days into this war. 304 days, our hostages have been held captive in Gaza, and our soldiers have been fighting bravely on the front lines. Thank the good Lord, we were able to eliminate some of the top commanders of Hezbollah, the top commander of Hamas's political wing, as well as several others. However, this has also brought a threat of Iran attacking again, which is really imminent. And as a result, I really want to thank all of you for your continued support that you've been giving Israel and the Atlanta Israel Coalition. There's really no better, only equal to organizations that are helping people on the ground today. So every dollar that you give to the Atlanta Israel Coalition is going to help us here in Israel. So part of the idea behind this tour is both to educate, to inspire, to connect, but also to let you know that there's an avenue here for all of you to help out by giving and supporting the Atlanta Israel Coalition. I'm starting right here, and I'm in an area which I call the car cemetery. You can see one of the destroyed cars here to my left. You can see over here to my right, you have the pillar of remembrance. And down here below, you can see the red flowers, the kalaniyot, this symbol of the South. And the reason why I wanted to start here was to be able to show you some of the, what I call the senseless destruction, the utter senseless destruction. You know, Hamas came in here on October 7th, and they wanted to not only murder and maim and kidnap and torture, and unfortunately rape as well, but they also just wanted to put in this dagger of doubt that we'll ever have peace here in this land. And they did that through this senseless destruction. If all they wanted to do was to kill as many Israelis, as many Jews as possible, then destroy the car, shoot the people inside, move on. But instead, they took time and effort to destroy, to just burn these cars. And I just want to show you a few of them while we're here. Come on over here. You can just see over here some of the motorcycles. These are motorcycles, some of them Israeli, but most of them came in from Gaza. These are the vehicles, the motorcycles, some of them came in from Gaza. And over here, this black vehicle and this white pickup truck. If you look at the gas tank right over there, it's written in Arabic. This vehicle, both these vehicles came in from Gaza. And on the back, on the pickup truck, you can actually see that there's a heavy metal mount. And that was there in order to attach a .50 caliber machine gun. So as they were driving through the streets of Sderot of the kibbutzim. And on the roads here to the south, anytime that they saw somebody, they would open fire. And as we walk along, you could just see this huge wall of destroyed cars. Now, this wasn't always the scene here, okay? This is really relatively new. Israel said we need to be able to show people what happened here, that people should be able to come to connect. And even those that came here to fight, whether they were police officers, whether they were with United Hatzalah and again David Sussman, whether they were with the army and various units and volunteers and citizens who came in order to fend off these terrorists, that they could come here and pay a memorial, a tribute to their fallen comrades. So some of the vehicles are police vehicles, some of them are medical vehicles, and some of them are civilian vehicles as well. People who are just driving their kids to their friends' houses, going somewhere for Simchat Torah, or whether they were civilians coming down here to help. But this was the area that all of the destroyed cars, about 1,000 destroyed cars, this is the area that they were brought to. And the reason why they were brought here was not originally to stack them up and to make a memorial. They needed to sift through every single car in order to look for even a fragment of a body part, a hair, a tooth, a backbone, something in order to identify the dead, in order to identify those that were killed. I was here many of these days. I've led 60, 70, 80 trips down here to the South, solidarity missions. And before this was open to the public, you had Zaka and the army and search and rescue that was going through these vehicles right here where I'm talking. And you could see them and they find these fragments, these body parts that were put into bags and then brought for forensic testing, DNA testing in order to identify those that were killed. And these are some of the unsung heroes, the people who really witnessed so much, who saw so much, who smelled so much in order to do what was necessary, and that was to identify the dead so that we could give them an honorable burial and also to give the families an opportunity to mourn their loved ones. And I don't know if you can see this vehicle over here, but in the towers, in all the vehicles right there, we have a blue one, okay? That blue one over there, that has a number. All of these cars have numbers, and that blue one has a number 267. Already in November, my wife and I came down here, and we went on some of the back roads, some of the dirt roads, in order to see the escape routes that survivors had taken. And we discovered some cars that were still out in the fields that hadn't been brought here yet. And those numbers were already, those vehicles were already numbered. 268 we found, 269. And the vehicle over there is 267. As I mentioned before, over 1,000 vehicles were destroyed. And the way they would destroy them is, you know, Hamas was on the roads. And as the vehicles are driving down the road, rather than taking a moving target, trying to shoot the person inside, they would shoot the front of the car, the engine block, destroy the car. Now that moving target went from a moving target to a stagnant target. It made it easier. They would go in there, they would shoot then the people that were driving the vehicles. And in many cases, they would take out the bodies after they were killed and literally line them up on the road, almost causing like a speed bump. Anybody who was fleeing the Nova Music Festival site, the only way for survival was to thump, 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 and literally run over our brothers and sisters. It's just repulsive to me even to share that with you, but that's the fact of the matter. That's how gruesome these people were. And this is the evil that we're fighting today. We're fighting an evil that does not want freedom, doesn't want freedom of thought, doesn't want freedom to be who you are, to enjoy life the way that you want to enjoy life. They want everybody to submit to their will, to their dogma, and if you don't, they're willing to execute you. This vehicle over here, unfortunately, this was a police vehicle, a Savannah, that was filled with police officers. A lot of people think that the army and the police, they didn't arrive. They did come. There were units that came. There were units that were fighting already on the ground by 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. Unfortunately, though, this vehicle here was hit by an RPG that was fired by Hamas, and it blew up the vehicle, and all the police officers inside were murdered. Now, I mentioned that, United Hatzalah, Magen David Adom, other medical units, rushed down to the scene, tried to help the injured, tried to save people. And you can see two of these ambulances that were completely torched. You know, after they killed the people, move on, but they wanted to torch the vehicles even after everybody inside was already killed in order to put that doubt in our hearts and in our minds. They just wanted to senselessly destroy as much as possible. And this vehicle over here, this ambulance, was actually at the Nova Music Festival site. And as I mentioned, they went inside, they scoured, they looked at the ashes, they looked for body parts. There was a lot of charcoal inside. It looked like human remains. They did DNA testing to it. This big chunk of charcoal, I mean, of burnt ruins. They identified 16 people. They then, I don't know how they divvied it up, they gave bits and pieces to various family members of these loved ones so they would have something to bury. And as they were cleaning out the vehicle even further, they found a necklace. Now, in all these vehicles, all the possessions, they were all put online, not publicly, but to the families of the victims, so that they could identify small possessions of their loved ones so that they could, you know, have that as a memorial. And this necklace they put online, and somebody said, that's my daughter's necklace. They said, it can't be your daughter's necklace. We didn't find any DNA of her in this vehicle. And they said, she must have been in that vehicle. There's no way she would have taken off the necklace. They said, maybe she went for medical attention, the necklace fell off, or she gave it to her best friend who was found in the vehicle. They said, no, she would never take off the vehicle. And so they asked her best friend's family if they could exhume the body, the charcoal remains, so that they could do further testing. And upon further testing, they found the DNA of this young woman whose necklace that belonged to. And they had something in order to bury from their loved ones. So it wasn't 16 people that were found in this vehicle. It was actually 17 people. And these stories, you know, unfortunately, this isn't the only one like this. You know, the unsung heroes, the people who did the body identification, whether it was here or whether it was at the military base known as Shora, where all of the civilians and all of the military people, including those that are killed, unfortunately today, we just had a fallen soldier last night in fighting in the southern Gaza Strip, they're all brought to that base for body identification. Sometimes there's a lot there to identify the body with, and sometimes there's very, very little. In fact, after 2 days, and we're talking about October 7th, when there were literally over 1,000 bodies that needed to be identified, the hands swelled up and the body swelled up. It was very, very hard to identify. So families would say, you know, my son was wearing brown pants and a red shirt. He had a tattoo on his arm. And they would have to go and look at the bodies in order to identify them just from the clothes that they were wearing. And these are really some of the big heroes of October 7th. I talked personally to many of them. I've interviewed them. I've heard their story. And I'll share one of them with you as we get into the car, as we continue our tour towards the Shuva Junction. Okay. So I'm just going to put my seatbelt on. And Mel, you might want to do that too. All right, give me 1 second here.
And it appears we've lost volume again. Melissa, I don't know if you can hear me, but we can't hear David. Although we can see exactly where he's going. Yeah, I know. You can't see him either? Can you? Okay. Whatever happened before is happening again. That's a problem. Let me get in touch with Camp. I apologize, everybody. He will be back on hopefully in a moment. I don't know what changed within the few moments that he got into his car, but apparently something did. Um, so, hi again. Apologies. Hopefully, we'll get David going again. I don't know again what changed between outside and in his car. But we can see, you'll be able to see where he's going, and he'll be doing some interviews, and it will be very exciting once we can get him back on with you. Um, Honestly, this is the first time we've had so many technical difficulties, and hopefully in our next series, you won't have this problem, and we'll be able to get you to these different places to bear witness um, without issues. So
Cheryl, he's aware and he's trying to fix it.
that's wonderful, Lee.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. Um, so as I was saying, hopefully we'll be able to do that. Just to let you know, the next few places that we're going to be going. Again, it's all relevant to what happened on that tragic day on October 7th, and we're here together to bear witness. I know many of you can't get to Israel right now, so this was as close as we can possibly get to being there live. And so when David comes back on and we can hear him again, he'll take us to some other sites. I put in the chat for anyone who's there the link to past tours, and these tours will also go on. Hopefully, these parts will be edited out.
All right, can you hear me?
Oh, thank you. I think we can.
So
Can
whenever
you
we have
hear
that
and see
problem, I
David?
think we're just gonna have to sign out for some reason and sign back in.
Okay, well,
All
let's hope
right,
that we don't have that problem again.
can I continue?
Please, please continue, David. Goodbye, everyone.
Yeah, can I continue?
Yes, please. I'm begging you, continue.
All right. All right, so I'm bringing you guys to this very, very special location. This is the Shuva Junction. And believe it or not, this entire area was a closed off military area on October 7th, all the way for the first like 3-4 months of the war. And it's called the Shuva Junction because just down this road, you have a neighborhood, a moshav, it's called Shuva. And this junction is where the military brought all of the injured and all of those that were killed. And it was turned into a large field hospital. And local residents here saw that the army had zero shade. It was very, very hot that day. There was no refrigeration. There was no cars. There was nothing here. So those residents came here and they brought food and they brought water and they brought cold drinks and then they cooked supper and big pots of spaghetti and meatballs. And you can see some soldiers that were just behind me. And they turned this into an area that any soldier that needed like a half-hour break, whatever they had, 10 minutes, an hour, 4 hours, they could come here and they could have a hot meal. And what happened is that other citizens all around Israel got wind of it. And carpenters came here. Come over here. Carpenters came here. And they built this entire recreational area, picnic area, that they soldiers can come and they can eat together. And look at the tables. You know, the Atlanta Israel Coalition sent some of these notes over here. Just love letters and letters of support and encouragement, and just letting the soldiers who come and they eat here. And these signs are switched, you know, on a regular basis, that they can see the love and support that's coming from all of you. And these two soldiers that you can see over here, there's also a shop here at the Shuva Junction. Not a shop that you have to pay for anything, but let's say soldiers need some basic supplies, socks and underwear, toothpaste, toothbrush, anything that they might have lost in battle, they can come here and they can pick up some new ones. And volunteers from Israel and also from abroad. We have a volunteer over here who came in order to serve some of the food. And we have food over here, hot meals. Again, already from like October all the way, I would say, until about February. And in February, the war kind of shifted a little bit further to like the southern Gaza Strip. But for those first 4 or 5 months of the war, they were serving here 3,000 to 4,000 meals a day. And it was all through contributions from organizations like the Atlanta Israel Coalition and from other people who came here and donated clothing, donated food, and most importantly, donated their smiles, donated their time, donated their energy. They have a place over here soldiers come and wrap tefillin. I can't tell you how many soldiers lost their tefillin in battle or going from point A to point B, and they have the opportunity, of course, to wrap here. They got the coffee machine. They even had set up here a massage booth, right? They took one of the bomb shelters and they made it into a massage booth that soldiers coming out, they could get like a quick massage. I actually met some of the soldiers here that participated in the recovery of 3 of the hostages who unfortunately had been murdered, but they're at least able to retrieve their bodies. And I met them here as they came just to get some rest and relaxation for a couple hours before they were going back into Gaza. You'd see a dozen, Humvees parked here and all sorts of soldiers that would come here. The theater of war has moved much to the southern part of the Gaza Strip. And now, as things are heating up on the north, so they're obviously going to the north as well. And so there's similar places like this in the north. But I'll just show you very quickly, all the food, all the fridges that are just stocked with food over here. This is where all the cooking is being done in order to feed all of these soldiers. On Shabbat, it's like magical here. All the soldiers that come out in order to hear Kiddush, to say Hamotzi, to do something. Everything, I always say when I'm giving tours here, right? People come, they do a tour. Everything's very fluid. It's a real war. Fighting's happening. Soldiers are coming. Soldiers are going. One of the brothers, this was really started by 3 brothers. It's called the Shuva Brothers Junction. You guys can look it up on Google. Shuva, S-H-U-V-A, Shuva Brothers. And Dror, one of the brothers, was supposed to be here, supposed to meet me, but he's not here. But this is, we're not going to go in. Unfortunately, we can't go into any of the bomb shelters because there won't be any internet once we go in. But this bomb shelter over here, if there's a siren, everybody could run in here. But when there's not a siren, you can see the nice little chair over here. Inside, they have a massage table, and there are masseuses that actually come here and offer soldiers free massages. So come with me. Well, I'm assuming you guys can all hear my mic just fine. Otherwise, somebody would have said something to us.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to flip that on. Here's my car. What we're going to do now is we're going to drive a little bit down. We're going to pass some of the kibbutzim. Hopefully, I'll be able to share some of the stories of those kibbutzim with you, and maybe also share a little bit of some of my my personal story with you all as well. So come on in. Let's jump back into the car. I hope it is. It's hot here in Israel. Just having a little bit of fluids there. Shokeda, another neighborhood, another moshav, literally right next to the Shuva junction right here, just to give you a little bit of geography. And I'm sure many of you are knowledgeable of the various events that took place down here in the south, in the Gaza envelope. But Shokeda was another neighborhood. There was a helicopter that had 50 soldiers from Samchanim, which is our paratroopers, a very, very elite unit. And they were serving in Jericho. They were in a place called Nebi Musa. And already at 7 o'clock in the morning, they took 50 of these elite soldiers. They put them on the helicopter and they flew them down here to the south in order to engage the fighting with the terrorists. People say the army wasn't there. The army, it's a very complicated situation. I'm not even going to delve into it right now. But there were small units that did go into these kibbutzim that did fight. And I've met them, and but 15 here, 20 there, obviously not the numbers that we needed. But this helicopter that came to Shokedah and it was landing, it was hit with an RPG. And it literally landed while it was on fire. And thank God the soldiers were all able to escape. They all ran to safety. And as soon as the last soldier got behind this area that protected them from the helicopter completely exploded. So another small miracle that happened here on October 7th. A lot of people also don't realize, all of Am Yisrael, we were also deeply affected on October 7th. Our psyche, we were all traumatized. And I could tell you, for me, Simchat Torah, I'm religious. My phone wasn't on. I didn't turn my phone on all day. And I go and I pray, at dawn, especially on the holidays. And I went into my synagogue and we're praying. Security grabbed his rifle and he ran out of the shul, but I didn't really think anything of it. And then 10 minutes later, a friend of mine came up to me and said, David, did you hear the Iron Dome explode overhead? And I said, no, I didn't hear it. I served in artillery. I was in the Second Lebanon War. I said, I lost some of my hearing. I didn't hear that explosion. He said, go outside. You can still see the smoke in the sky. So I went outside, I looked up, and sure enough, you could see where the Iron Dome and the rocket, and they hit one another and they exploded. And you know what I did? I was like, oh, cool, Iron Dome. And then I just walked back into shul, to synagogue, and I continued to pray. Because it become normal, my friends, for people to try and kill us, to shoot rockets. That should never have been normalized. And hopefully we're going to rectify that situation now, that when this war is over and a rocket is shot, it is going to be like, what? A rocket was fired at us? This can't be. It hasn't happened in so long, and we will take action immediately. I'm just coming around here. I just want to show you this entrance to the Kibbutz Sa'ad. This is Kibbutz Sa'ad. You can see the yellow gate. Oops, somebody's trying to get in here behind me, so I'm going to have to move. But this is one of the kibbutzim that actually survived. And they were able, as soon as the sirens to come out, they put their kitakonot, their rapid response team, into position and fight off the terrorists before they came in. They're not right on the border like Kibbutz Be'eri, like Kibbutz Kfar Aza. And this gave them a little bit more time to prepare because they already understood what was happening. And other kibbutz, a lot of people don't realize that they came in and they paraglided in. So they didn't even trip any of the alarms on the kibbutz that there was an infiltration that just took place. So they were able to go to the places and they knew they had the intelligence. Right? The Hamas had the intelligence, whether it was gathered by workers, Palestinian workers on the kibbutz that were working in the fields or in construction on the kibbutz, or whether it was satellite imagery that was given to them from Iran, from Iran. They had the intelligence and they knew where the armory was, and they knew where the positions were, and they were able to go to those positions. So as soon as the alarm was tripped, and that rapid response team was able to go and get the weapons and go to position, Hamas was already there. And the people who were able to and trained and had the know-how to defend the kibbutz, unfortunately, they were all killed immediately in battle. Now, let me just see if this is the entranceway. Yes, it is. So what I'm doing right now, this is Kibbutz Alumim, also another kibbutz that was able to fend off the terrorists. You can see over here to your right-hand side, you can see part of their agriculture is the banana trees. These banana trees have not been tended to, totally devastated, and no produce from these trees were gained this year. Kibbutz Alumim lost about 300,000 chickens. Right? This is like, there's so much life, but people don't realize so much other devastation and destruction that took place during that time. And just by here, we're going to pass by a military base. It's a new military base that they just built during this time. There's several new bases. There were literally hundreds of thousands of soldiers that were stationed all around the Gaza border before we actually went in, and then also just coming in and out. So here to your right-hand side, you can see one of these military bases that was just put up very, very quickly. A lot of the Miloimnikim, the reserve people, are going in and out of service. So many of them serve for 120 days, even longer. And then they had, you know, a little reprieve. They went home to their families. Some of them with 6, 7 kids. In my neighborhood, I mean, a third, maybe even half of all of the adults in my neighborhood were called into duty. I live in a very young neighborhood in Efrat, just south of Yerushalayim, in an area known as Gush Etzion. So let me see if I can still get over here. I want to bring you up to this observation. Hopefully I'm not going to bottom out. All right, I was able to get over that little hump there. I just wonder if they put that little roadblock because they didn't want people coming up here anymore because of the danger. But this is one of the places that I bring people to on, you know, on a full day tour here. And I won't be able to do it here on Zoom, but I have these very high-powered binoculars that we can actually look into Gaza, because right now we are less than a mile from the border of the Gaza Strip. Yeah, this is an interesting, tight little area. All right, I was able to get over that, sort of, slid out a little bit. All right, I hope you guys are all sticking with me here. We're going to visit here, and then after this little vantage point, we are going to go to the Nova Music Festival site. And as we drive there, we are going to pass by Kibbutz Be'eri. Okay, this is actually really, really beautiful here. So let's step outside the car. You want me to hold this for a second for you? You got it? So come on over here. You can see behind me, it's a little bit windy. Hopefully the noise is okay. You can see behind me, I don't know how well you can see it, but about a half a mile behind me is the border of Gaza. And you can actually see the water shimmering over there from the Mediterranean on the other side of the Gaza Strip. So from this lookout, you can see the entire breadth of the northern Gaza Strip. We're like northern to central Gaza, like right around that border. And behind me, you can see Sisajia, which is one of the hotbeds of the fighting that has taken place here in the Gaza Strip. You can also see some of the high, tall buildings there from Gaza City as well. And during those few months of the war, this was an area you could actually feel the bombs exploding in the campaigns as we were trying to rid the area of Hamas and make it impossible for them to shoot rockets into Israel. In the beginning of the war, they were shooting a lot of rockets. Unfortunately, they're still firing rockets from time to time. And there was one that even landed in Ashkelon, which is not far from here, in the most southern city along the Mediterranean Sea, was hit with the rocket today. But you can see the agricultural fields. Behind me is Nachal. Whoa, that was a large explosion. I don't know if you guys picked up on that or heard my wife just say, "Oh God." Most likely that was an artillery shell fired from inside Israel, because it was pretty loud here. You can see how it got startled a little bit. But when they actually come with the planes and they're dropping the larger bombs, you can really feel it. It's really a thunderous explosion and big flash of light, especially in the evening if you're here at nighttime. But Nachal Oz, that's where the military base was that you saw recently. They talked about that's what the observers were, the female observers who were watching the cameras along the fence. A lot of people called it a wall, right? The billion-dollar wall that Israel built. It wasn't really a wall that went up. It was a wall that went down. We built a wall 150 feet into the bedrock all the way. That was definitely artillery. Don't worry, sweetie. As my wife is my camera woman today. Unfortunately, my usual camera guy for the COVID days, if you guys remember during COVID, the Atlanta Israel Coalition was putting a lot of content out there. And we did 12 tours all around Israel during that time. My camera guy, unfortunately, due to the war, wasn't able to join me today, very last minute. And thank you, Melissa, my wife, for coming out here and braving the situation here, which is very much the unknown. But that's the base right there, Nachal Oz, that the observers, some of them were murdered, some of them were kidnapped, but that's where that took place. It's a little windy here. I'm going to take the camera. I just want to see what you guys are seeing. There's, I don't know if you guys can see in the sky, there's like a little balloon over there. That's some cameras that are watching the border and the fence. Actually, you can see the smoke in the distance. It's probably not coming up in the video, but there's some smoke coming up from that explosion that we just heard. That's Ashkelon just over there. The smoke towers right there, the smokestacks, that's from an electricity facility. But, you know, a lot of people also don't realize this right over here, this was supposed to be like the Silicon Valley of Israel. There was this idea of having business between the Palestinians and Israel in 2005 during disengagement. And they had set up a little area there, but unfortunately for Israel and the people of Gaza to do business with one another. And unfortunately, when Hamas took over, you know, that whole dream was just completely destroyed. Even the Erez Crossing, which is in the northern part of the Gaza Strip, the facility that checked people as they came in to work. You know, we had roughly about 20,000 Palestinian workers that crossed in almost on a daily basis to work here in Israel. It was really built for like 100,000 Palestinian workers to come in. But when Hamas took over, that facility, it didn't need it anymore. It looks like an airport. I mean, it was massive that they could facilitate 100,000 people passing through it in order to work in Israel. And of course, have offices there. People could do business and high tech with one another. That dream, unfortunately, was lost. And we hope that we have peace here, that we'll be able to engage in these prosperous ideas once again. But this is not the time for that type of discussion. So come with me. These are all the fields here. You can see the trees. This is Kibbutz Alumim. A little bit further is Kibbutz Be'eri. A little bit further from there is Kibbutz Re'im. We're actually going to pass by some of those areas right now, and we'll share some of the stories. So come on in. And we are going right now. We're probably really only about a 5-minute drive to the Nova Music Festival site. I'm going to drive a little slow. I might stop at a bomb shelter or two so that we can see a little bit of what happened in those bomb shelters that people ran to in order to hide.
You want to take a question or two right now?
Is that being
I
put up there? So I'll let them decide that.
If anyone has any questions for David, please put it in the chat and we'll ask him. Right now, we don't have any questions, Melissa. Thank you for asking, though.
No problem.
Oh boy. So anyways, you know, October 7th, there were 3 huge waves of terrorists that came in. The first wave of terrorists was roughly about 2,000, 2,500 well-trained and well-armed terrorists that came in and just took over the roads, took over these kibbutzim very, very quickly. And once they had control, the high points, once they had the military advantage in these areas, and they called back to their families. We've all seen and heard the recordings. You know, mommy, you know, I just killed 10 Jews with my own bare hands. I mean, terrible, horrible things. A lot of families came across. Right? At first, it was like men came, and they participated in the looting. Right? They were stealing a lot of stuff, and televisions and computers, and still to this day, and I have a lot of friends who are serving, when they find these items that were stolen, they bring them back to Israel, and they try and contact and locate, if they can, the owner of these. And I know one story in Kfar Aza, in Kibbutz Kfar Aza, they found in Gaza a basketball, and the basketball said Kfar Aza on it. And these soldiers came back to Kfar Aza, in a hotel that they were staying at, and displaced, and returned the basketball to the kibbutz. Bicycles, all sorts of stuff. But they also participated in the murdering. They participated in the looting. I mean, in the raping, and they participated in the kidnapping as well. And you guys have seen the video footage. There's literally so much of it out there on Telegram and various outlets. Slowly but surely, it's also being released by the families of the victims. Every now and then, you know, that 45-minute tape that the government has from the GoPros that the Hamas terrorists were wearing as they were doing the unthinkable. So the families of the victims in those recordings, they have the right if they want to publish it or not. And slowly but surely, some families are publishing some of these recordings, and it's just very, very horrific when you watch these. It's just you realize how much of it was actually conducted by civilians. You know, they weren't trained terrorists. And then the third wave, right? I said there was 3 waves. The second wave was also thousands of people, and the third wave was thousands of people. That it was literally grandparents and grandkids. I mean, there's videos that you see them coming in here, and they were participating in burning down the houses and doing a lot of this destruction in all of the kibbutzim. Put the camera out the window. This is Highway 232, and I call this the Highway of Death. It's very hard to see the destruction here. We're 304 days from October 7th. We had the rainy season. We're now in the middle of the dry season. They clean the roads as much as possible. Here's a Humvee that's coming across. You can see there's a soldier standing on the vehicle. He's got a 50 caliber there. Quite possibly just came out of Gaza from one of the exit points. Here we're passing Kibbutz Alumim. If you go to the right, yeah, you can do it with your wrist. Right. Passing by one of the bomb shelters. I'm gonna let this car pass me. But they cleaned up a lot of these roads here because you saw so much of the destruction as families, I don't know if families return, but as people return to the South, you know, it's too much for the kids, you know, this young teenagers, you know, single digits, you know, to come back here to see the kibbutzim are not rebuilt. There's still houses and broken glass, and the devastation. I feel like the trauma for these kids would be too much to come back and see their homes destroyed like that. But some of the residents and some of the adults have returned or come back to work the fields. And in order to, you know, that we shouldn't see so much of it, they clean the roads up because you could see where all the cars were burning. This road was littered with cars that were set afire. Many of those cars we saw at the car cemetery, the senseless destruction, and all over. I'm seeing the little spots right now, the little burn marks on the road. And as we get closer and closer to the Nova Music Festival site, which I said is just a few minutes down the road, you know, these burned out cars become more and more prevalent, or the mark on the roads for the burned out cars become more prevalent. And if you look out the window to the right, you'll see some of the fields here, the agricultural fields. And these were the fields that you saw the videos of people that were running from the Nova site. Here, these fields, little not further up, these fields right here. We are that close that this entire area, and I've met lots of Nova Music survivors. I heard their testimony, walked through some of these fields. They showed me where they hid and how close they came to death. So even though they survived, there's still so much trauma that is involved with it. And one of the people I met here in November, the first time I went to the Nova Music Festival site, you could still see tents and chairs. I met this soldier. His name was Gilad, but he was actually at the Nova Music Festival site. And we're pulling in here. I just wanted to show you a little bit of the entrance right here to Kibbutz Be'eri. Hey, let me just see this and make it straight for you again. See? You don't need to mess with that. You can do it with your wrist. Okay. So here, I'm going to take this little dirt road here. This here was a staging ground right here. This was filled with tanks, and all the way up until like March. This is where they left to go into Gaza. Again, we're very, very close to Gaza. We're less than a half a mile from Gaza. So this is Kibbutz Be'eri, and this is a bike shop right here in front of us. I'll pull up a little bit towards it. This is a bike shop, and this is like literally a tourist attraction to come out here, especially in the springtime, to rent a bicycle and to go bike riding here and to see the kalaniyot, those red flowers, the symbol of the South. So this guy Gilad that I met, he was shot at several times as he was leaving. One of his friends was killed. Another one was taken hostage. I was in the car with them because Hamas did catch up to them, and they ran. And Gilad, his friend Dor, and his girlfriend Lali ran into that bike shop right there, and they hid in a bathroom there for like 8 hours until the army came and rescued them. And it was really just really miraculous that they were not found, and of course, unfortunately, killed because of it. So here we're gonna pull out. Just go over there. You can see this is the entranceway to Kibbutz Be'eri. You can do it with your wrist. That's the entranceway to Kibbutz Be'eri. And this is, so many stories. You can see all the yellow flags here for, remembering the hostages. All these kibbutzim, Be'eri, Faraza, they have hostages that are still in Gaza. And 304 days into the war, we don't forget, but we don't, the pain, it's almost like we get used to that pain. I talked to somebody just on Friday, good friend of mine, Ari Abramovich, and, we were talking about Iran and whether they were going to attack on Shabbat. And he said he was at the Shuk, Machane Yehuda in Jerusalem. And he said it didn't look like a place that was facing existential threats. People were out shopping, people were having l'chaim, they're having drinks and talking. And I said, yeah, because people have gotten so used to the pain. We've just gotten used to it. We don't feel it as much anymore. And it's so wrong because, unfortunately, it looks like Iran's going to attack and Hezbollah is going to attack, and it's going to be thousands of rockets, and there's going to be destruction. We pray to God that there won't be, and please God there'll be a miracle again, and other rockets will arrive here. We don't know, and this is the time that we really need your help. I think more than ever. The war's not over. I don't know. I can't say it enough. This is one of the bomb shelters. This is the first bomb shelter from leaving Kibbutz Be'eri. Okay? There's a lot of noise here. Cars are going. I'm going to take my microphone, move it a little closer. There was a JNF project. You can see JNF over here. There was a JNF project to paint all of these concrete bomb shelters so that people, when they're driving around, they don't have to see bomb shelters all the time. They'll see something that's painted, something that's beautiful. So when people were leaving the Nova Music Festival site, what were they leaving? What were they leaving? What were they running from? They were running from rockets. They weren't running from terrorists that had infiltrated to Israel. They didn't know there was terrorists that infiltrated Israel. All they knew is that there were dozens and dozens of rockets, and they were told to pack up and to leave and to go home. And those that left immediately and didn't stop on the road for any reason and just went home, most of them survived because the terrorists hadn't come onto the roads yet. They hadn't sealed them off. They were able to escape. However, since they were running from rockets, many of them, when they saw the bomb shelter, they said, let's run into the bomb shelter. This isn't Jerusalem. This isn't Tel Aviv. You don't have 90 seconds to run into your bomb shelter, whether it's in your house or in the basement or in the street. You have 15 seconds here in the Gaza envelope. 15 seconds. The sirens are going off nonstop. So when they saw the bomb shelter, they ran in. And you had 35 people that ran into this bomb shelter. It's the first bomb shelter that you saw. They were cramped in tight on the inside. I can't take you on the inside because we'll lose our Wi-Fi. But one of the people that was in there, two of them were cousins, first cousins. One of them, their name was Daniela Sassi, and the other one, Lee Sassi. Okay, Leesasi. And you can look her up on YouTube interviews. She interviewed with Fox News and CNN and Nation News and with all of the BBC, all of the outlets. And she was in this bomb shelter with her first cousin and with her uncle, Avi Sassi. Right? You can see these are all stickers here that people put here in memory of people that were killed on October 7th, whether here in this bomb shelter or just in general at Nova or in the kibbutzim. But Avi, their uncle, was killed. Also, another friend of theirs that they went with, Alex, was killed. They're all hiding here from sirens. Suddenly they hear Arabic outside, and they say, Alex, what's going on? And Alex, their friend, came outside, and as soon as he stepped outside, step back, Melissa, Hamas was out here, and they opened fire, and his body was riddled with bullets, and unfortunately, he was killed right here where I'm standing. And the marks that you can see on the bomb shelter over here, these are remnants of the AK-47s that were shot here. Now, the way Hamas would deal with the situation in these bomb shelters is they would reach in with their Kalashnikovs, or AK-47s, and they would open fire. And then the first few bodies in there would take those bullets and they would be killed and they'd be on the ground. And then they would take their grenades, open up the grenade, and throw it inside. Of the 35 people that were in here, 29 of them were killed. Only 6 of them survived. Lee Sassi, Daniela Sassi were 2 of them. And the way that she survived, and this is very graphic and hard to fathom, is that they took all of the dead bodies that were just bleeding and they put them on top of them. They literally buried themselves underneath the corpses of their friends that they were hiding in here with. And so Hamas took another grenade and threw it in there. The bodies would protect them. And they hid underneath these bodies literally for 8 hours until the army came here and saved everybody that was in the shelter. What we're going to do right now is we're going to drive like another 5 minutes down the road. I just want to show you the bomb shelter. We're not going to get out, but I just want to show you the bomb shelter that Hirsch Goldberg Colin was captured. He's an American from Chicago. His family made Aliyah. They've been living here, and he's still in captivity. There was a video of him that Hamas released, and you can see that he lost his wrist. And we're hoping that he's going to be freed today. But the story is very well known in America. He's an American hostage. And so I think it would be important for all of you to at least see where he was taken captivity. And from there, it's like 2 seconds, and we're going to go into the Nova Music Festival, which is where Hirsch was having a good time with his friends when the attack happened. And he ran into a bomb shelter thinking he was running from rockets. So come with me.
David? We have a question.
Okay, excellent.
So, why aren't we seeing checkpoints?
Right. So the closed military areas have been minimized. When we went to that overlook, that was really the beginning of the closed military area. So we wouldn't have been able to go further down that dirt road towards the Gaza Strip. You can see there's a lot of traffic here on these roads. A lot of the farmers, not the children, but the farmers have returned here. They had to take care of their fields. Some of the residents that don't have children living with them anymore have returned to the kibbutzim. They're trying to rebuild. The idea is to return to the south. The idea is to build up these communities, these amazing, beautiful, wonderful, amazing kibbutzim, and the people are just incredible. So there is no need for a checkpoint right here. Obviously, there's no more terrorists that are infiltrating from the Gaza Strip, thank God. And so it's relatively safe to be here, with the exception of the rockets that still are periodically fired into Israel and into this area, whether they're mortars or actual rockets. Of the 60, 70 times that I've been down here, I personally have only heard a siren, right? A dome, the siren saying that there is a rocket incoming. I've only heard it one time. So it's relatively safe to be down here. And a lot of people are coming here in order to pay tribute and to remember the victims of October 7th, whether it's the kibbutzim, whether it's going to the Nova Music Festival site or going to those cars. So there really is no need for the checkpoints anymore.
Is there another question?
Someone asked what you would personally want
Sure.
for the Gaza Strip land and the people after the war.
I didn't hear it. Bring it closer to me. What'd you say again?
What you would want for the Gaza Strip land and the people after the war.
What I want personally,
Yeah,
or what I think is going to happen.
I think
Let me
they were asking you
answer the
personally.
latter. What I think is going to happen. So I'm hoping that you know, if it seems more like when Iran attacks and Hezbollah attacks, that Israel will be able to really change the dynamic here in the Middle East. We know that there are other countries, right? Whether it's United Arab Emirates, whether it's Saudi Arabia, you know, to see Iran become nuclear, and they want the Ayatollahs to be done with, and they're spreading terrorism throughout the world. So they're on our side. They might not vocalize it so much, but they are on our side. And we know that Jordan and Saudi Arabia and other places helped when Iran attacked last time. So we may have the opportunity to really change the dynamic, get rid of Hezbollah once and for all. Whatever it takes, we need to get rid of the Ayatollah, and we need to get rid of Hamas. And I think Israel's doing a pretty good job. It's a very, very difficult job. It's a lot of fighting, and a lot of lives have been lost already. And we need to, after when this is all done, Lebanon hopefully will return to their true government and it won't be run by Hezbollah anymore. And hopefully the Ayatollah will be gone in Iran and they can have a democracy there as well. And in the Gaza Strip, there's most likely going to be some type of shared security force over there. And hopefully, you know, the Arab countries will participate in that in a way that we can feel secure here in the South once again, and all around Israel. So I think that's really something, one of the positive things that can really come from this war, and that's what at least myself and a lot of us are praying for. So you can see here this bus stop, which has a bomb shelter, is very, very busy. People are coming here. And I just wanted to show you that this is the bomb shelter, similar to the last one we were at, that Hamas took Hirsch Goldberg Poland from. And you know, his friend was with him. And Hamas, there's videos of it. You know, you can Google, you know, Hirsch Goldberg's capture. And they threw grenades in there, and his friend threw the grenade out. Then they threw another one in, and they threw another one out. And this happened like 6 or 7 times. But unfortunately, we know that the last one was able to kill many of the people there. And was able to kill many of the people there, and it blew off the hands of Hirsch, and then he was taken in captivity. So I just thought it was very, very important for you guys to see that during this tour. Now I'm just going to do a quick little U-turn here at this intersection, and then we are going to head into the Nova Music Festival site, which is literally right there. So it'll just be a minute here as I do a U-turn. And the kibbutz, now that's on my right, this is kibbutz Re'im. And this got an amazing heroic story. And when we do our tour of the kibbutz on the 18th of August, we're going to meet here on kibbutz Re'im. This is the kibbutz we're going to tour one of those first responders of the Kitakononot program, and him and his army partner, there was only 6 of them, but 4 of them weren't in an area where there was heavy fighting. But the guy from the Kitakononot that's going to talk to us, give us a tour there, him and his military partner, they killed 50 terrorists and really saved the entire kibbutz. Unfortunately, they did have one person that was taken hostage. They were released in those 2 rounds of hostages being released, and they had 1 casualty. There were others that were murdered there, and there were also people that were raped there. But these were people that ran into the kibbutz from the Nova Music Festival that thought that they were running into safety, but unfortunately the kibbutz was overrun with terrorists as well, and the fighting lasted there until 2 o'clock in the morning. But we'll learn about that entire story when we go there on August 18th. So I'm going to make a left right up here, and this was one of the entrance ways into the Nova Music Festival site. It was also one of the areas that a lot of people fled out of. And it looks like they repaired the road up here, but this whole road was just all burned from the cars that were set ablaze from Hamas. Okay, so I'm just gonna go in here. A little bit rough going in. Here, let me see that. You can already see a memorial right here. A young woman that was killed. Pretty much anywhere you look right now, there were people that were killed. Okay, I'm gonna roll down the window. You might even see between the trees over there, you might already see some memorial set up, some people walking over there. And these trees were the campgrounds of the music festival site. So all of this area had, thousands of people that were camped out or had their tents set up for whenever they wanted to take a nap or go to sleep and then end the evening. The attack happened 6:30 in the morning. The rockets, they came here and arrived here about 7:30 in the morning. But you have to understand, I'm going to try to explain a little bit of the rave or party scene, the trance scene here in Israel. But the peak moment of any party here in Israel is usually at sunrise. Everybody plans their evenings activities to be up. And
Please shift the gear into P position.
thank you for reminding
Please
me.
shift the gear into P position.
There we go. Hey, let me just see that real quick here. So over here, you guys can see all of these trees that are planted. You can see some flags and a name, Shai Shalom, Avi Dadon. All of these trees here, 364 of them planted, and even more now as others died from their wounds, whether physical or mental. But all of these trees, most of these were planted on Tu B'Shvat, the festival of the trees here in Israel, in Judaism, in memorial of one of the loved ones. And, I see some people over there as well. Almost every time I come here, I'll see somebody, meet somebody, a family member, somebody who was killed. Now, this is the Nova Music Festival site. I'm going to talk a little bit about it right now. But even from the last time I was here, this is a new memorial that set up a little bench for people to remember their loved ones, to think about their loved ones. Here's another little memorial that a family set up for their children, Eliana and Yohanatan, and a bench for people to contemplate. There's always a Chabad vehicle there, allowing people to do the mitzvah of wrapping tefillin, but they're also writing a Sefer Torah in the memory of one of the soldiers that was killed here. The family sponsored the Sefer Torah so people can come and do the mitzvah of writing a letter in a Sefer Torah. And this is the main memorial. And so we're going to stop before we actually go in. And I just want to talk a little bit about the festival itself. And I know a lot of you that are watching today have not been able to come to Israel just yet. Some of you may have. And you know, I get it. People don't want to come. It's a little bit dangerous right now. But you know, it means the world every time somebody comes and gives their support, not just in a financial way, but in a physical way, with a hug, with a smile. Means the world. There have been tens of thousands of people who have visited on solidarity missions. And I know Atlanta Israel Coalition is putting together a solidarity mission as well. And hopefully I'll see some of you when you're here in Israel with them when that trip happens. But really, you know, in a year, Israel has millions of people that visits. And summertime is the busiest season for tourism. But we're happy that some people are coming and some people are showing support. But even the fact that you're here today means the world, that you are tuning in and supporting organizations like the Atlanta Israel Coalition that are helping on the ground here in Israel today. So behind me, you can see the memorial that was set up. Sorry? Yeah. You can see the memorial behind me. For all of the people that were killed here and taken hostage here. So a lot of people don't realize that the trance scene, the party scene here in Israel is a little different than that in America and that in Europe. It's really a community. It's a community of people that came together for their love of music and their love of this trance, that they can party and they can just shake out all of the stress of life. A lot of people get into this scene when they finish their military service, 3 years in the army. They need a way to get it all out, right? Before they engage the real world, before they go to university, and before they start their careers. And it's very moving. It's more like the hippie scene in America. They take care of the ground, they clean up their trash, they don't leave a mess, they watch out for one another. If somebody's not doing good, if somebody's sick, if somebody drank too much, they take care of them. And it's a place also that women are safe to come and to party. And about 20 years ago, when I first made Aliyah, and I would come to some of these parties, some of the people noticed that there were European non-Jewish people that were coming to these events. And these events were illegal back then. Be 50, 100 people in the middle of the desert somewhere. And some of them said, you know, why would Europeans want to come to our party? No real lights, no real sound system, you know, we just put it up. And they asked them, they said, we appreciate coming here because it feels like there's a culture here and a community, and you look out after one another, and it's safe for our women to attend. And then someone said, you know what, maybe we have something to offer this party scene. We don't need to go to Europe. We don't need to go to America. We don't need to go to, maybe we can legalize it. And so a group of guys came together, a group of people, men and women, came together and started Nova, right? Nova Tribe, when they would put on these parties. And this past October was the largest one that they had ever put on. And there were roughly about 4,000 people who came in attendance. And there was a fence around the area and people had to pay the tickets. And this is actually an armband right here, similar to the one that they gave out to the participants. And I just have one on just to remember all the atrocities that took place here, just like I have the yellow bands also to remember the hostages. And so they came in, and right behind me were all the memorialists. This is where the main tent was. This is where the main tent was, and this is where all the dancing was, and the stage was over. Everybody's like jumping up and down, and really just like in harmony and unison. The only thing I could really, you know, for those of you who are religious out there know about the pilgrimage to Uman on Rosh Hashanah. I was there once about 10 years ago, and everybody coming together and praying and jumping. And I really think that just like I was in shul, dancing with the Sefer Torah and trying to connect to that infinite and that oneness, so too the people here were trying to connect to something bigger than themselves, to feel one with everything. Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, right? Just, we're all one, and that's such an important thing to remember. And I think they just were trying to connect to that. And unfortunately, 6:30 in the morning, the sirens started to blare from Be'eri over there, from Ra'im over there. The music stopped, They got on the loudspeakers. They told everybody to pick up. They told everybody to go home. They said, this isn't normal. Anybody could look up in the sky and they saw rockets going that way and rockets going this way and rockets going in every which direction. This wasn't normal, like, they shot a dozen rockets towards Tel Aviv in order to ruin everybody's Simchat Torah celebrations. This was unusual. There were hundreds of rockets going in every direction. And so most people went immediately to their belongings, they packed up, and they left. Some of them stayed here. They said, hey, listen, it's just rockets. And besides, where are you going to go? Where are you going to go? Where are you going to go? You have 15 seconds, right? There's no place to run. There's no shelters. There's no shelters here. Just, some rockets will die down in a half hour, and we'll continue. And so many of them stayed here. At 7:30, Hamas had surrounded this area and completely opened fire. And we know what happened from there. 364 people were killed here that day. And so what I want to do with you all today, and it's kind of hard, you're not here physically, but we're going to do this together. That I want to, we walk through here, I want you guys to see one face, somebody that resonates with you somehow, and to realize that the light that existed inside of them, that desire to connect to that oneness, to be a part of something greater than ourselves, they'll never be able to open up their blinds and let their inner light shine, but we will. And one of the things that we say when somebody dies is we say that their blessing should be for a memory. If we could take the memory of these individuals and use it as a source of inspiration to realize that they'll never have the opportunity to shine their light, but we will. We have that ability right now. And we could take their memory and the atrocity that happened there in order to use it as an inspiration to encourage us to open up our blinds, to shine our inner light, to be more fully expressive human beings, then we're using their memory for a blessing. So I'm going to take the camera and I'm going to walk around and I want you just to see some of the faces that are going to be staring back at us. And before I go deep in, I just want to take a moment here. Remember Gilad, who ran to Barry and hid in the bathroom? I said one of his friends was taken hostage. So this is Alexander Lubinov, who's still held hostage in Gaza. And this was Gilad's friend that was with him. And Gilad, Dror, and Dror's girlfriend survived, but Alexander did not. Alexander was taken hostage. He's still alive, and we hope that he is returned today. But let's just go through, and you see some of these young faces, some of the soldiers that were killed here, fighting off the terrorists. And this fighting took place till 3, 4 in the afternoon. And see if you can find somebody here. Maybe because they remind you of somebody. Here's somebody, a Baltimore Ravens fan. Maybe some of you are from Baltimore right now. This beautiful young woman here that was killed. And as you walk around, I mean, you really just get this sense of how many lives were lost and how many lives were taken as we walk through this memorial. And we just see the countless faces. It's almost dizzying as we walk through and we see all of these beautiful faces looking back at us. As a reminder, I'm getting goosebumps here just walking through, as a reminder that we need to do our utmost to bring achdut, to bring unity. That Am Yisrael needs to come together right now. The Jewish people and really the whole world. Lovers of freedom, lovers of democracy, lovers of free choice to be who you want to be. Because this is an evil that we have not seen since the Nazis. Look at these beautiful neshamas that were murdered because they were Jewish and because they wanted to live in their homeland. Now, I know it's getting close to the time that our tour is supposed to end, but I really want to share one more very, very important story. So please give me another like 5-10 minutes. Ah, I love this face right here. Just look at that smile right there. Oh my gosh. Such a happy human being. So we're going to come over here as we see some of the hostages that are still in captivity. Some of the planners of the party as well. And I want to show you this one story. I come here a lot. And what I just did with you walking through, I usually try and build up something and have everybody walk through and have their moment here in the memorial. And I walk around and I connect with a story. I meet somebody, I talk to somebody. But this one time I was here, there was a yeshiva here. It was Shalavim near Modi'in. And there must have been about 70 yeshiva students. And they were singing songs. And I don't know what the songs were. I'm observant, but I became observant later in life. I don't know all these songs. But they were singing with such passion. Some of them were dancing as they were singing. Some of them were smiling as they were singing. Others were crying as they were singing. Some were holding themselves, praying as they were singing to God that we should have some type of redemption. And I was moved so much, I started to cry, and I went and I joined them, and I put my arms around them. And then the rabbi slowed everybody down, and he shared a story. He said, my friends, my dear students, I need to admit something that I haven't admitted before. I need to repent. I need to do tshuva. Because on October 7th, as we were celebrating Simchat Torah in our yeshiva, and news started to trickle in about what was happening in the South, I stepped outside the yeshiva for a minute. And I saw a couple guys on the street that looked like they were in the know, like maybe they would know what was happening. And I went over to them and I said, what are these rumors that we're hearing? And these two gentlemen told me that there was a massacre between Kibbutz Re'im and Kibbutz Be'eri. And he said, I lived down south for 5 years. I traveled that street thousands of times. There's nothing but empty fields. What do you mean there was a massacre? And they said there was a music festival with thousands of people there, and hundreds of them were killed, and some of them were taken hostage. And when I heard that, I was so bothered of the fact that there was a music festival on Simchat Torah, on Shabbat, on our high holidays. And I came back into the yeshiva and I continued to dance with all of you, and I was so happy that I was part of our community that celebrates the Torah, that celebrates our heritage, instead of out there in those fields dancing to who knows what and to what music. And he said, and this is what I need to do tshuva for. Because in that moment that I was having those thoughts, I looked at all of those party goers as the other. And since that day on October 7th, I've been looking for my B and my R to turn those others into my brothers. And he continued to say that he found it on this day, today, here in the Nova Music Festival site, between Kibbutz Be'eri and Kibbutz Re'im. I found my B and my R. And I'm here to repent, to do tshuva, that I ever thought for a second that there was another Jew out there in this world that was an other and not a brother. I want you all to know that this time, more than any other time, maybe in the history of the Jewish people, we need to look at one another as brothers and sisters, whether we have a different political ideology, whether we think these people will be better for Israel or those people are better for Israel. And even if we disagree on these things or other things, whether we keep Shabbat or whether we don't keep Shabbat, whether we wear a kippah or we don't wear a kippah, whether we do this or whether we do that, or whatever it is, we need to right now stand together. And we need you, each and every single one of you, right now, to help in the most meaningful way possible. For some of you, it might be going to temple, to shul, to synagogue, to pray. For some of you, it might be getting on an airplane and coming here to Israel. And for others, or maybe for all of you, it might be reaching down deep. Because when these rockets start coming, whether it's now or in an hour or tomorrow, or as some reports on Tisha B'Av or whenever, and there's destruction here, we as a community, as Am Yisrael, are going to be pained once again, and we're going to need help. And there are organizations on the ground and people who are fighting and going to work to make sure that we are all okay. And the Atlanta Israel Coalition is one of those organizations that is working as a liaison between you and Americans and us here in Israel. And they're collecting funds and they're doing work and they're trying to help as much as possible. So I want to thank all of you for joining today. I want to thank the Atlanta Israel Coalition. I want to thank Cheryl. I want to thank Lee. I want to thank everybody, the whole staff there, for putting this on, for seeing the importance. To the Federation, who also co-sponsored this and helped. Because we all need to come together. And we need to see one another as brothers and sisters. So thank you very much. And Cheryl, if you want, I'll answer questions, whatever you want. I'm here with nothing but love and gratitude to each and every single one of you. Thank you.
David, thank you. I'm here with tears in my eyes. I don't know about everyone else, but this has been a very, very moving, touching experience. And I've been to Israel twice since October 7th, and seeing things through your eyes has been very powerful. So thank you. And thank you all for being here with us. We will be doing additional tours. I don't see any additional questions for you, David. I think people are choked up like I am. And when David mentioned prayers, I know we have a lot of non-Jewish people here, and I want to thank you. I think the unity needs to be for all of us. This is something that, has impacted all of us, regardless of your religious beliefs, your political beliefs, etc. So thank you again to our partner, Jewish Interest Free Loans Association of Georgia. JIFLA actually does interest-free loans. So if anybody actually wants to look into them to take out a loan for Israel, and you want to travel to Israel instead of putting it on your credit card and running up interest, look at Jewish Interest Free Loans Association of Georgia, because they have a lot to offer and are here for us during this time. I know we have a slide on them. I'm not sure when we'll get to it. Lee, could you please go to that slide? I would appreciate it. And okay, so we will have, as I said, several other tours. We're very lucky to be here with David. We are planning on hopefully actually being able to bring you to Israel on a actual physical tour. So please reach out if you're interested in finding out more about that. We will also be having a live presentation about volunteering. Appreciate that. Thank you, Lee. So this is more information on JIFLA and their mission. They have been a fantastic partner. And again, if you want to travel to Israel and you don't have the money right now, look into them for a loan, because that's what they're here for. and they do great work. Hi, Melissa. Hi, David.
Hi.
Oh, hey.
Hi, how are
I was
you?
reading some of the comments here. So beautiful. I really appreciate everybody's heartfelt words there. I was just skimming through some of them, and
You have me crying, David. I'm
so
crying on
you're
video.
the best. You really are. You're so amazing. Everything you do is really.
Y'all are terrific. This is just a slide on Atlanta Israel Coalition. I'm Cheryl Dorchinsky, the founding executive director. And you know, if you want to volunteer, you want to reach out, please do. We're all volunteer, and there'll be a survey today. If you can fill it out, we'd appreciate it. And David and Melissa, we really do look forward to seeing you again on the next tour. Thank you again for doing this with us. And I'm
course.
Yisrael Chai.
I'm Israel Khan.
Hi.
Thank you.
Take care. Thanks again, everyone, for joining us. Goodbye.